Good morning, everyone. I am Joharto L. Usop, and I am the first lucky reporter in current trends in language learning. So, the assigned topic that was given to me is the thinking about learning. In this slide, as you can see, I have prepared a roadmap where you can see the whole picture of my report. You will see some of the theories intended to explain something. So, some of the theories like Piaget, Vygotsky, Gardner, Goldman, Sternberg's, Bloom's taxonomy, and others. The first theory is Piaget's theory of cognitive development. He suggested that children move through four different stages of learning. The first stage is sensory motor or 0 to 2 years old. This means that infants use their actions and senses to explore and learn about their surrounding and environment. The second stage is pre-operational or 2 to 7 years. One of the most obvious example of this kind of stage is dramatic play or the improvised make-believe of preschool children. The third stage is the concrete operational or 7 to 12 years old. Toddlers and young kids develop the capacity to mentally and linguistically describe the world. This is the tendency for the child to think that non-living objects such as toys have life and feelings like a person. The fourth stage is the formal operational, which is 12 years to adulthood. As the adolescents enter in this stage, they gain the ability to think in an abstract manner, the ability to combine and classify items in a more sophisticated way, and the capacity for higher order reasoning. This allows them to understand politics, ethics, and science fictions, as well as to engage in scientific reasoning. Another theory is the Vygotsky sociocultural theory of cognitive development. In sociocultural theory, views human development as a socially meditated process in which children acquire their cultural values, beliefs, and problem-solving strategies through collaborative dialogues with more knowledgeable members of society. Also, he introduces the zone of proximal development or the ZPD. The learner is close to developing the new skill or knowledge, but they need assistance and encouragement. Intelligence. Gardner's theory of multiple intelligence. Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences proposes that people are not born with all of the intelligence. He introduced the 8 different types of intelligences consisting of bodily kinesthetic intelligence. It is an ability to control one's body movements and to handle objects skillfully. Examples are participating on a sports team, doing relay races, or outdoor games, or learning the choreography to a dance. The second is the interpersonal intelligence, which is the ability to interact with others in a healthy and a meaningful way. This include making positive relationships with peers, using effective communication skills, comforting a friend when they are feeling down. Verbal linguistic intelligence. This involves the ability to comprehend words while reading, writing, or speaking. So this can include reading and writing in a person's native tongue, but it also involves the ability to learn new languages. Fourth is the logical mathematical intelligence, the ability to use reason and analysis to solve problems. For example, learning the addition, subtractions, and other math concepts. The fifth is the naturalistic intelligence. This refers to a person's sensitivity to and appreciation for the natural world. Students with the naturalistic intelligence often have an affinity for recognizing and interacting with plants and animals. Some activities may include hiking, camping, or other outdoor activities, taking care of animals, recognizing different types of plants. The sixth is the interpersonal intelligence. This is the ability to understand and analyze your own emotions, actions, and beliefs. For example, creating a reflection journal, nurturing a strong sense of introspections, practicing mindfulness activities like meditation. The seventh is the visual spatial intelligence. So children with strong special intelligence are aware of the space around them and skilled at manipulating it in a creative or innovative ways, like putting together puzzles, painting, sculpting, or artistic activities, performing tasks that involves hand-eye coordination. Last is the musical intelligence. This means that the ability to appreciate, create, and perform music. It involves not only thus sensory musical activities, but also the theoretical side of music such as composition. Another is Daniel Goleman's emotional intelligence theory. So he defined emotional intelligence as the ability of individual to recognize their feelings. Briefly, Goleman suggests that emotional intelligence comprises self-awareness, the ability of an individual to know the current mood and its reasons. It enables individuals to understand their strengths and weaknesses and process the effect of moods, emotions, and drives in other people. Second is the self-management. This is the ability to manage one's actions, thoughts, and feelings in a flexible way to get the desired result. The goal of self-management is to be able to recognize these feelings as a hijack and bring the brain back to mental clarity and concentration to the task at hand. Social awareness. So this is the ability to accurately notice the emotions of others and read the situations appropriately. It is about sensing what other people are thinking and feelings to be able to take perspective using your capacity for empathy. Relationship management. This is the ability of one's own emotions, the emotions of others, and the context to manage socially interactions successfully. So this can be used to influence those around us to make a good decision. Another view of intelligence is the triarchic model of intelligence, as proposed by Robert Sternberg, or Sternberg's triarchic theory of intelligence. So this theory has important implications for educators, as it suggests that intelligence is not fixed trait, but rather a set of skills that can be developed through instructions. There are three types of intelligence according to Sternberg. First is the analytical intelligence. This is used to solve problems and is kind of intelligence that is measured by standard IQ tests. Second is creative or synthetic intelligence. This one's ability to use existing knowledge to create new ways to handle new problems or cope in new situations, like solving logical problems using a variety of different approaches or looking at things in new ways to figure out how they work. Third is the practical intelligence. The practical intelligence involves individuals applying their abilities to the kinds of problems that confront them in daily life, such as on the job or in the home. For instance, street smarts or practical problem solving, or ability to juggle various tasks with good time management. Taxonomy of educational objectives. Bloom's taxonomy of educational objectives is a hierarchical ordering of skills in different domains whose primary use is to help teachers teach and students learn effectively and efficiently. The Bloom's taxonomy. So he described tasks as being generally derived from one of the three psychological domains. First is the cognitive domains that involves knowledge and the development of intellectual skills. Second is the affective domain, which includes the manner in which we deal with things emotionally, such as feelings, values, appreciations, enthusiasms, motivations, and attitudes. The third is the psychomotor domain, which includes physical movements, coordinations, and use of the motor skills areas. Development of the skills requires practice and is measured in terms of speed, precision, distance, procedure, or technique in execution. Under the cognitive domain is knowledge. For example, recite a policy, quote prices from memory to a customer, knows the safety rules. So in knowledge, some of the keywords are defines, describes, identifies, label, lists, matches, names, outlines, recalls, recognizes, reproduces, selects, states. In comprehension, for example, rewrites the principle of a test writing, explain in one's own words the step for performing a complete task. So some of the keywords here is comprehends, convert, defends, distinguishes, estimates, explains, extends, generalizes, gives. In applications, for example, use a manual to calculate an employee's vacation time. Apply laws of statistics to evaluate the reliability of a written test. So some of the keywords here are applies, changes, computes, constructs, demonstrates, discovers, manipulates, modifies, etc. Analysis. For example, troubleshoot a piece of equipment by using a logical deduction, or recognize a logical fallacies in reasoning, or gathers information from a department and select the required task for training. So some of the keywords here is analyzes, breakdown, compares, contrast, diagrams, deconstruct, differentiate, discriminate, etc. Synthesis. One of the example is write a company operations or process manual. Design a machine to perform a specific task. Some of the keywords here are categorizes, combines, compiles, composes, creates devices, designs, explains, generates, modifies, etc. Evaluation. For example, select the most effective solution, or hire the most qualified candidate, or explain and justify the new budget. Some of the keywords here are appraises, compares, concludes, contrasts, criticizes, critiques, defend, describe, discriminates. Under the affected domain is receive. For example, listen to others with respect, listen for remember the name of a newly introduced people. So some of the keywords here are ask, chooses, describe, follows, gives, holds, identifies, locates, names, etc. Respond. For example, participates in a class discussions, or gives a presentations, or questions new ideas, concept models, etc. So some of the keywords are answers, assists, aids, complies, conforms, discusses, creates, helps, labels, value. So one of the example question is demonstrates belief in a democratic process, or shows the ability to solve problem. So one of the keywords here are completes, demonstrate, differentiates, explain, follows, forms, initiates, invites, Organize. For example, recognizes the need for balance between freedom and responsible behavior, or accept responsibility for one's behavior, or explain the role of systematic planning in solving problems. So one of the keywords here is adheres, alters, arranges, combines, compares, completes, defends, explain, formulates, generalizes. Characterize. For a sample question is shows self-reliance when working independently, cooperates in group activities, uses an objective approach in problem solving. So some of the keywords are acts, discriminate, display, influence, listen, modifies, perform, proposes, qualifies, etc. The psychomotor domain is characterized by progressive levels of behavior from observation to a mastery of physical skill. Memory. Gilbert Tyle's concept of mind made between knowing that and knowing how. Knowing that equates to acquiring and remember things as individual pieces of information. For example, knowing facts, knowing that will refer to knowing factual proposition. Knowing how is knowing how to put into practice or knowing a set of rules for something like chess game or how to act morally does not necessarily mean that one knows or how to do something cleverly. Short-term memory is the capacity to store a small amount of information in the mind and keep it readily available for a short period of time. For example, memory include where you parked your car this morning, what you had for lunch yesterday, or remembering the details from a book that you read a few days ago. In a long-term memory, a storage of memories that tend to be stable and can last for a long time, usually years. Example, recollection of an important day in the distant past, early birthday, graduation, wedding, etc. And work skills you learn in your first job out of school. Capturing and storing information is aided by a number of other important mental processes. First is the selections. When we teach, we sometimes make efforts to help students in choosing the material that we believe is crucial to their understanding of a certain idea. So this is accomplished by exercises like italicizing, bolding, or underlining, or summarizing the major ideas and calling the attention to the components that we believe should be chosen to serve as the foundation from which students' learning could advance. Chunking. Basically, this is a memory trick. When applied to the education setting, chunking can be used as a memory aid for various tasks such as memorizing a vocabulary list. For most teachers, however, chunking describes the process of dividing tasks into ever smaller tasks. Processing. When we assign assignments to students that require them to compare and contrast or analyze and explain, we are encouraging processing of information in ways that totally change how the information is structured and connected in their thinking. So Martin and Roger Salvo, 1976, researched that students could be categorized into one of the two groups, surface approach and deep approach. The basic distinction is between a deep approach to learning, where students are aiming towards understanding. So basically, in deep approach, they aim for understanding, while the surface approach to learning is aiming to reproduce materials in test or exam rather than actually understanding it. Elements of memory. So there are 7 elements here: strings, propositions, images, episodes, intellectual skills, motor skills, and cognitive strategies. In things, as interesting aspect of things is that they are learned by repetition so that they might be recalled quickly. Therefore, remembering the trigger term or phrase leads in the whole. In proposition, as far as memory is concerned, there is no difference between facts and opinions. Both are belief, which are stored similarly and may be learned simply. Images are mental pictures. This is often stored as archetypes. For example, a flower, a tree, or a scientist. Episodes are important in learning because they dramatically influence students' perceptions of context in the way they function within or feel about that context. Intellectual skills can be categorized into divisions, discriminations, classes, and rules. In discrimination, the ability to distinguish one feature of an object or a symbol from one another. For example, differentiate between octopuses, squids, or alligators and crocodiles. Classing is the ability to identify a class of objects, objects of qualities or relationship or relations by pointing out one or more example or instances of the class. Example, classifying music as jazz, western, rock, etc. Role is a learned capability of the learner by making it possible for the learner to do something rather than just stating something. For example, when a learner learns the rule for forming an adverb to modify an adjective, he or she knows that ly must be added to the modifier. Because a learner knows the rule to add ly, he or she can apply it to an entire class of words instead of learning an adverbial form for every adjective in the language, enabling the learner to respond correctly to words he or she has never seen before. In motor skills, learning situations that involve motor skills are learning to write, playing a musical instrument, playing sports, and driving a car. The timing and smoothness of executing motor skills indicates that these performances have a high degree of internal organization. A learner uses cognitive strategies in thinking about what was learned and in solving problems. They are the ways a learner manages the processes of learning, remembering, and thinking. Constructivism. Constructivism suggests that learners construct knowledge by developing mental schemas that allow them to progressively add new informations to existing knowledge, with the result being the development of increasingly complex cognitive structures, the development of a personal understanding. So, the constructivism is the theory that says learners construct knowledge rather than just passively take in information. As people experience the world and reflect upon those experiences, they build their own representations and incorporate new information into their pre-existing knowledge. It says that people construct their own understanding and knowledge of the world through experiencing things and reflecting on those experiences. When we encounter something new, we have to reconcile it with our previous ideas and experience, maybe changing what we believe or maybe discarding the new information as irrelevant. In any case, we are active creators of our own knowledge. To do this, we must ask questions, explore, and assess what we know. If we apply that in the classroom, the constructivist view of learning can point towards a number of different teaching practices. In the most general sense, it usually means encouraging students to use active technique, for example, experiments, real-world problem solving, to create more knowledge and then to reflect on and talk about what they are doing and how their understanding is changing. So Of course, the teacher makes sure she understands the students' pre-existing conceptions and guides the activity to address them and then build on them. So constructivist teachers encourage students to constantly assess how the activity is helping them gain understanding by questioning themselves and their strategy. Students in the constructivist classroom ideally become expert learners. This gives them ever broadening tools to keep learning. With a well planned classroom environment, the students learn how to learn.